Hello everyone. Today I'll be dealing with the topic post-feminism. So before moving on to the concept of post-feminism, let's look at the term feminism. The term feminism has been coined in the year 1960. Before that, the center concept behind it has been known as the women's rights. So we know that feminism has three waves. The first wave has happened between the mid 19th century and the early 20th century, and it has been called as the suffragettes movement. And this phase aimed at ensuring the passage of women from the domestic sphere to the public sphere by defying the existing gender stereotypes. And the major writers of the wave are Mary Wollstonecraft and William Godwin. Now, moving on to the second wave, it surfaced between the 1960s and 70s, and during this time, the liberation movement spread all over the world. The extremism of the second wave feminism exhibited to bring out their plan to achieve equality and freedom for women has actually made it infamous among its progeny. Female theorists like Kate Millett and Ellen Showalter have promulgated activism as a female ethic. And the third wave feminism focused on heteronormality. Now, moving on to the term post feminism, it was used to describe a societal perception that many or all of the goals of feminism have already been achieved, and thereby making further iterations and expansions of the movement obsolete. So, post feminism has started during the 80s, and it is a highly debated topic since the word post can be referred as dead or after feminism. But the goals of post feminism are different from second wave and the third wave of feminism. Post feminism celebrates sexuality and says that women can be empowered, free to choose, and liberated. The term post feminism has been first used in the journal Female Literary Radicals, in which radicals of the day declared that, I quote, "We are interested in people now, not in women, that moral, social, economic, and political standards should not have anything to do with sex, that it should be pro women without being anti man, and that their stance is called post feminist." So, post feminism is used as a theoretical and or philosophical term that is concerned with the problematic search for a unifying cause of and a common solution for women's subordinated position and the denial of the supposition that feminism is based on a unified subjectivity, a universal sisterhood. Now, the ideology of post feminism is a new form of empowerment, individual choice, independence, consumer culture, fashion, hybridism, humor, and sexual pleasure, and also the renewed focus on the female body can also be considered important for this contemporary feminism. So, post feminism lies within the world of academic paradigms and can be located on the connection between postmodernism, post structuralism, um, and post colonialism. In the present scenario, post feminist views are applicable for every field a person could possibly think of. And Brooks, in his book Post Feminism, Cultural Theory and Cultural Form, states that post feminism is not against feminism, it is about feminism today. Um, Post feminism denounces the notion of a unified subject position and a universal feeling of sisterhood among women all over the world that unite for a single cause and search for a common cause of their subordinate position in the society. Post feminism is a stand taken to find out whether feminism has achieved all its goals through years of struggle and won its course. And several female critics use the term post feminism in a negative manner when renewed interest in activities and positions of various generations of feminists, either earlier or later, are considered either sexist or suppressive. Hence, can consider that the term feminist has wide applications. And in the essay The Myth of Post Feminism, written in the year 2003, Elaine J. Hall and Marian Rodriguez comment that post feminism began in the 1990s, and also they outline five claims of post feminism. Now let's look at what these five claims are. The first claiming feminism received less support in the 1980s and 1990s. Second, several women have turned anti-feminist. Third, many young women feel that since feminism had already achieved its goals through the diverse movements over the years, therefore feminism is not neither relevant nor required for women. Fourth, women have adopted a no but version of feminism whereby they refuse to be recognized as feminists, but they would continue to support feminist demands of pay for work done at par with men and economic self-reliance. And finally, feminism can be considered anti-male, which is set against anti-patriarchy, oppression, and anti-sexism. Now, considering all these points, it could be inferred that post feminism takes an ambivalent stand whereby it advocates um, gender equality and female empowerment, but does not support a stringent feminist critique of the prevalent patriarchal norms. Okay. Now, let's look at the characteristics of post feminism. In the early 1980s, the media has begun to classify women in their teens and women in their 20s as post-feminist generation. So after 20 years, the term post-feminism is still used to refer to young women. Post-feminism celebrates sexuality and says that women can also be empowered through working in sex industry as strippers and adult film stars. Post-feminism is fueled by the advances in abortion, employment, and fertility laws, and concentrates on furthering the idea of empowerment, celebration of feminist freedom of choice and liberation. It perhaps the most prominent feature of this post feminist culture and sensibility is the active denial of feminism as a necessary politics. The engagement and incorporation of feminist values into popular media and consumer culture resulted in what McRobbie described as, I quote, feminism taken into account, unquote, a process in which feminist values and the ideologies are initially considered only to be then found dated and past and thus repudiated. So this dynamic is a paradoxical double movement where the dissemination of discourses about freedom and equality functions as a hegemonic strategy to dilute those very politics, providing the context for retrenchment of gender and gendered relations. So, feminism as a concept is used as a calculated strategy of post-feminism, and post-feminism uses feminism as a framework of disavowal where we no longer have to be concerned with feminist politics and the socio-historical and political context that enabled its emergence. Young women are apparently able to come forward in society in realms of education, work, sexuality, etc., on the condition that feminism fades away. Here, post feminism has a temporal quality as a set of practices and ideas that necessarily emerge after feminism's work is done within quotes. But the post feminism does not only indicate a temporality. Post feminism responds to a history of feminism that have directly challenged media representations of women and commodification of gender and have focused on the social realms including legal discourse, politics, and education. So, this post feminist sensibility authorizes the individualism of women more than anything else, celebrating a kind of gendered freedom for both patriarchy and feminism, whereby women are apparently free to become all they wanted to be. So, indeed, post feminism is enabled by a neoliberal capitalist context where values such as entrepreneurialism, individualism, and the expansion of capitalist markets are embraced and adopted by girls and women as a way to craft themselves. So, post feminism is thus um, not only a shift from collective mobilization to an individual subjectivity, but also the abandonment of feminist politics and the embrace of neoliberal capitalism. Also, as I said before, post feminism is a set of ideologies, strategies, and practices that marshal liberal feminist discourses such as freedom, choice, and independence and incorporate them into a wide array of media, merchandising, and consumers' participation. So, as I said before, the term the post feminism represents not only a temporality as in after feminism or as a backlash against the second wave of feminism, but also a sensibility. Core features of feminism included emphasis on individualism, choice, and agency, and a resistance to interrogating structural gendered inequalities, and a renewed focus on a woman's body as a site of liberation. And post feminism provides a new form of feminism that portrays an optimistic and triumphant portrayal of young women who have accomplished and are highly successful in both private and public domains. A feature of post feminism is girl power that rejects the principles of second wave feminists related to women being less powerful or facing suppression in society dominated by males. So, the girl power is the articulation of young femininity and represents a feminist ideal of a new, robust young woman with agency and a strong sense of self that gives them the power to discuss their gender role, and this brings in greater independence and liberation raised by the feminist movement. So, post feminism thus embraces pluralism of feminist thought and the inherent diversities. It agrees with the postmodern claim of anti essentialism and includes discussions on race, ethnicity, class, sexuality, and age. Hence, post feminism encompasses a complexity of vision and gives vent to multivalent, inharmonious, and conflicting voices of contemporary women, including the other voices of feminism. So, that's all about post feminism. Thank you.